Welcome, Stachers, to another episode of Stache Sports. Hope all your Stachers are having a good time. And for my brother and the other two, and Jake and EJ, the other Stachers, I hope you have a good move this week and it all goes smoothly. And for my barber friend Jake, I hope you're getting adjusted to your new house and new place. Also, happy anniversary to Michael Mays, who might watch this channel too. And happy birthday to anybody that watches this channel that's a Stacher. I hope all your Stachers are having a good day. Last night, the Boston Celtics lost and are now facing a Game 7, winner take all on Saturday. I mean, I don't know what happened. Last night, they just had bad shots and could not make their shots. Could not make shots sometimes to save their lives and went on a cold streak. I don't know what it was. Derek White looked a little better last night, but still needs to improve on his playoff time, and it's not looking good in the playoffs right now. But I don't get basketball sometimes, how the Boston Celtics can look really good in the first couple games and then not look good sometimes in other games. I mean, I get it. I know the Philadelphia 76ers are a good team, and they got Joel Embiid back, and they're healthy, like the Celtics, and sometimes this goes that way. But I just don't get how that can happen when the Celtics are looking good and beat them by a lot, and then the next thing you know, they lose a game and lose a close game. But oh well, I think they'll get them in Game 6. I think they'll get him in Game 7, but we'll see. I mean, they didn't look bad last night, but they at least came up close. Their bench did look good, but they need to have their superstars show up. I mean, I know hopefully Tatum's not out too long, because he did have to go back to the locker room with an injury, but I didn't get any updates on what his status quo was on his injury. But hopefully he's not out for too long, because we need him back for Game 7, but I think he'll be back for Game 7. Also, Jaylen Brown needs to go back up. It didn't help last night, but the refs were not on our call during the game, and the refs seem like they're more in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers, in my personal opinion. But Jason Tatum is unexcusable to have 4 fouls early on in the game. He got in foul trouble pretty early, and that was not good, because he went on the bench in the crucial times when the Celtics needed him on the floor. So that's not good. And Peyton Pritchard needs to show up again, too. Peyton Pritchard had an off night last night, so let's hope he can show up in Game 7. So be at home. And last time they lost at home, so now they're going to try to redo that and win at home. It'll be Saturday at 7:30 after the Kentucky Derby. And we'll get into Kentucky Derby probably tomorrow. I'll talk about the Kentucky Derby horses in tomorrow's episode. We might talk about that later today, too. But the Kentucky Derbies, but we'll talk more about the Celtics tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. But the Celtics need to look good. They need to bounce back. I mean, I know it's rough, and I know people want a Game 7, and sometimes I think the NBA just does that so their fat cats can get more money in the NBA and get a Game 7. But that's just my personal opinion. But the Celtics need to look better. I mean, they showed they're the team. I know they did pretty good this year, and a lot of people thought they'd be on a down year because Jason Tatum is out. And Jason Tatum did come back really soon from his torn Achilles and amped up his recovery process, which is good and looking really good right now. I mean, Jason Tatum looked really good last night, but the rest of the Celtics need to help up. Their defense needs to show up too. The defense needs to block Tyrese Maxey and some of the Sixers a lot better. The defense needs to show up in the pivotal Game 7 and hope they can move on to play the New York Knicks, who we'll get into later on. But they need to show up. They need to look good. The Celtics need to look good and need to show up in Game 7. I mean, I know Philadelphia has won the last 2 games, but the Celtics are the better team, and they need to prove it on Game 7, or they'll be done, just like the Penguins. But we'll see. I mean, I know it's a rough series, and I know the Sixers, but let's hope it doesn't get the Sixers momentum to come back in the game right now, and let's hope the Celtics can look good. But Boston needs to look good. I mean, the Celtics were one of the top teams. I mean, I know like other teams like in the East, it's weird this year because the Detroit Pistons are 1 game away from losing to the Magic and the number 1 seed. But Boston needs to look good. I mean, we need other players to do good. We need Peyton Pritchard to do good. And we need Queta, or however you say his name, not to get in early foul trouble. He's another one that's getting in early foul trouble too for the Boston Celtics. Needs one of our big men. We need our big men to look better too. The big men have not been looking good this series for the Boston Celtics. Not like Jason Tatum. I mean like the big men that play point guards or whatever. But the other players need to look good too. I mean, Derek White needs to get out of his shell. At least Derek White got a couple of shots last night, which looked good for the Boston Celtics and looked good. But Derek White needs to get back into the groove. I mean, if we can get Derek White back into the groove, that would definitely help the Boston Celtics and help them go along in the playoffs. But we need other players to do good, other than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I know Jaylen Brown had a bad night last night and got in early foul trouble, but we need them to look good, and we need the Celtics to look good to move on to the next round. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at the Boston Celtics and to see what they do. But we'll see. I mean, but we'll see. But only Game 7. I mean, they still have a lead. They still, at least since they're the better team, they have the home court advantage. So maybe that might help going back to Boston and have their fans in Game 7. But I know it's going to be a winner-take-all. But they need to play their best. They don't need to go on a cold streak like they've been going on in the games. They need to play hot all throughout all the quarters and look good. They need to show up and show out for our fans and make sure they do their best in the last game, and maybe they'll be able to win. I don't know yet. I'll decide that tomorrow who I decide to pick. Probably Boston, so I'm a Boston Celtics fan. But I'll talk about that in tomorrow's video with the Kentucky Derby going on too. Can't believe the Kentucky Derby is already happening soon, this fast. The Orlando Magic are playing the Detroit Pistons tonight in Orlando. Who would have thought that the Orlando Magic could be a 3-2 on the number 1 seed via the Detroit Pistons? A lot of people thought, and a lot of these experts thought, and people thought that the Orlando Magic could be firing the coach no matter how far the playoff run helped. I mean, they could still fire the coach, but who would have thought that they would be this far up on the top seeded team in the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Pistons? Like the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons are not getting help from other key players in their team. But the Magic are looking really good. The Magic's players are really playing hard right now and playing like they want it more than the Detroit Pistons. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see if the Magic can pull it off tonight and knock off the number 1 seed. That'll be interesting because the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they swept their team with ease. But the Detroit Pistons are having trouble. The Detroit Pistons are looking to force a Game 7 tonight, just like the Philadelphia 76ers did last night in Philadelphia. But we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens if the Pistons. The Pistons are 62-22, and the Magic are 45-37. But like my dad always said, it doesn't matter. And some Stachers always say, it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season, as long as you make the playoffs. It doesn't matter how hot you're playing. And right now, the Magic have a hot hand and are looking really better. I mean, they're looking really good. They're good. They're looking really good. The Pistons need Cade Cunningham to do good. Cade Cunningham is one of these young and upcoming stars. They need him to do good tonight. They need Durant to do good tonight. But Bonachero for the Boston Celtics, for the Atlanta Magic, is doing really good. He's averaging 22 points. And Suggs is doing pretty good too. I mean, even though I live in Orlando, I'm probably going to pick the Magic tonight because I want to see the Magic upset. I want to see this final score of Magic upsetting the Detroit Pistons. I mean, that'd be funny to see the Pistons lose because Detroit has never. It'd be interesting to see the Pistons lose because, I don't know, the Pistons have a 65% chance to win tonight and the Magic have a 34% chance to win. The over-under opens at minus 3.5 and minus 1.10. And the under is 2.15 minus 110 by DraftKings. The Pistons are the first team in the East, and the Magic are the 8th team in the East. But like I said, it doesn't matter how good you play in the regular season. It just matters how good you start off in the regular season. It doesn't matter how good you are. But the Magic are looking really good right now. I mean, who would have figured that the Magic, who had to go in the play-in tournament, which is a new tournament, so the NBA can get more money, just like they do when they get Game 7s, like they were forcing Game 7 yesterday for the Boston Celtics. But they got more money in the play-in tournament, and the Magic are looking really good. They look like one of the teams to beat right now. I mean, who would have figured the Magic could be that good? I mean, I don't know. The Magic could lose again tonight and force a Game 7, and the Pistons could come back in Detroit and beat them. But to go this far against a team that made a play-in tournament, that's quite impressive in my book. And I don't know what you Stachers think about that, but that's quite impressive that the Orlando Magic are making it this far. I mean, we'll see. But I think the Magic win tonight over the Pistons. We also have a game 6 against the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are at 3-2. The Cavaliers won last time, and I picked against them. Will I pick against them now? I mean, they're looking really good. The Cavaliers are looking really decent again. The Cavaliers are 53-23. 52-30 and 25-16 away. And the Raptors are 46-36 and 24-17 at home. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the 4th in the East, and the Toronto Raptors are the 5th in the East. So I guess that'll be a little bit of an upset if the Toronto Raptors come back and force a game of 7. That'll be a little bit of an upset if they can win game 7. But the bigger upset will be the Detroit Pistons over the number 1 seed, because the number 1 seed is the top seed in all basketball in the Eastern Conference. I mean, not all basketball. It's Oklahoma City Thunder probably the overall number 1 seed. But they have a minus 0.5 open right now and a minus 105. Devon Mitchell is looking really good, and so is Evan Mobley, or E. Mobley, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Ingram, I think Scotty Barnes, for the former Florida State Seminole, I think he has a big night, and I think he forces the game 6 tonight. I know I said that last time on Stache Sports, and it didn't happen, but I think they force a game 7 tonight. And the Pistons win in Detroit and home. Cleveland's a minus 4.5 right now, and that started at 7:30 on Prime Video. A lot of people don't like all these Prime Videos and Peacocks and stuff because it's what's happening with basketball. But it's also happening with all these other sports. All these other sports are just doing these other media. All these other sports are doing all these other TV medias, and all you have to do is TV medias or share people. Like for instance, tonight the Buffalo Sabres play on ESPN, so my friend Brandon from Orlando will be watching on my ESPN account because you have to have ESPN unless we have a TV provider to have ESPN to watch the game. But he'll be watching that probably on ESPN. But I mean, I get it. I get why some people are getting upset with the NBA and other sports because it is a lot of money to have balance if we can't share people, to have the balance of all these different TV services to know which game and on which area. I mean, like last night, the Boston Celtics game was on Peacock, but we watched it on NBC Sports Network because we got NBC Sports Network on YouTube TV. But if you didn't have that, you would have to watch the game on Peacock and hope you have to pay for Peacock just to watch the Boston Celtics game if you don't want to pay for Peacock. I mean, I get it in these days. But I think the Raptors win tonight. There's still tickets available. Wow. The Houston Rockets are looking to come back from a 3-0 deficit. I don't know how many teams have come back from a 3-0 deficit and tied at a game 7 in the NBA, but the Houston Rockets are looking to do that in Houston tonight. Or will LeBron James and company be able to do it? I mean, if LeBron James and company can do it, but LeBron James, don't bet against LeBron James, I guess, but we'll see what happens with that. Or look at Doncic. Look at Doncic is doing really good for the Lakers. I mean, I still can't believe that the Dallas Mavericks traded away their best player, Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic is showing up for the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I don't know. The Los Angeles Lakers are 52-29 and 25-16 away. The Rockets are 52-30 and 30-11. Houston's a minus 3.5 to win. Wow, I thought the Lakers would be more favored to win. That's how that works. I don't bet. The Lakers are the 4th seed in the East, and the Rockets are the 5th seed. So it's just like the last game between the Raptors and Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, if the Rockets force a game 7 and win it, I guess I'd be a little bit upset because people thought the Lakers might go far. But it's not that big of an upset because it's just 5-4. So they're pretty close in the standings compared to the Orlando Magic one that we talked about earlier. But I think the Houston Rockets, I think they're on a hot streak right now. But that's also on Prime Video. All these games tonight seem like they're on Prime Video, which is interesting. Like I said, that's how they're going to nickel and dime you. I mean, they do that for wrestling too. WWE, you have to watch SmackDown, you have to have USA Network, you have to have Raw to watch Netflix, you have to have CW Network to watch NXT, and you have to have ESPN Unlimited to watch the pay-per-views now, or premium live events. But that's how it's going to get. And one of these days, cable's going to be dead, in my personal opinion. And it's just going to be everybody has streaming services, and then hopefully they let you share so you can share with your friends and family. But we'll see. But anyway, I think the Houston Rockets win tonight. We go over the games last night that we missed. My 76ers, boo! Won 106-93 against the Boston Celtics. I mean, the Boston Celtics look good near the end. They started making a comeback, but it was too late, too long, too short, too late to make a comeback against the Sixers. So they forced a game of 7. The Atlanta Hawks won 140-89. That's not the biggest thing. At halftime, they were up pretty big. It was the biggest halftime lead in NBA history that they ever had. It was the biggest halftime lead. They're up like 89 to whatever it was, but it was the biggest halftime lead in NBA history, and the Knicks didn't blow it. I mean, that would have been pretty bad if the Knicks would have blown a 40-point lead, I think it was, at halftime, to lose to the Atlanta Hawks. So they moved on to the next round. They'll be awaiting the winner of the Boston Celtics New York Knicks series, or Boston Celtics Philadelphia 76ers series. And that game will be at 7:30 on Saturday on NBC and Peacock after the horse races. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are one of the teams that people thought would go far, but they lost in the first round to Minnesota. And Minnesota didn't even have some of their starters there because some of their stars are hurt or didn't play. Or get to hurt because they're hurt. But the bench players came really good for the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves have moved on to the next round. They'll be playing the San Antonio Spurs and really hot young star Victor Yamba. They won 110-89. It was a close game until the end when the Minnesota Timberwolves started to pull away, but the Minnesota Timberwolves will move on. They were 49-33 and 26-15 at home. And the Denver Nuggets are 54-28. But they lost. That's more of an upset than the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, no one thought they would make the playoffs, according to Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley thought the Nuggets had a bad season by losing in the first round. I mean, that's his opinion, but I think so too. I mean, a lot of people thought that the Denver Nuggets would make it far, but they're not. They're done now, and that's it for the Denver Nuggets, and they'll be done. But again, I think the Magic win tonight. We're going to recap it. I think the Magic win tonight. I think the Raptors win tonight, and I think the Houston Rockets win tonight. I'm not just saying the Houston Rockets win because I don't like LeBron James. I know I don't like LeBron James. I don't have a reason. I just don't like LeBron James. I don't like the Lakers. So that's one reason I'm picking against the Lakers, but we'll see. I mean, never bet against LeBron. LeBron's a good player. I just don't really care for him. The Edmonton Oilers lost last night We'll get over the other games in here in a minute. To the Anaheim Ducks, 5-2. And they didn't even play Tristan Jarry last night. Tristan Jarry got on a trade from the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it shows that the Penguins won that trade, but we'll get into the Penguins later on in later videos. But the Edmonton Oilers lost. And everybody thinks Connor McDavid's really good and call him Connor McJesus, which I don't get. I mean, I know he's a good player, and I know hockey's a team sport, but he has yet to win the Stanley Cup. So does that mean he's a really good player? If it's a good, I mean, Sidney Crosby's won 2, Alex Ovechkin's won 1, but they always say that Connor McDavid's one of the best players. I mean, I know he was in back-to-back Stanley Cups, but lots of the Florida Panthers in back-to-back years, but he's still yet to win a Stanley Cup. I wonder if he's going to want to get traded now to get off a different team, because they do everything to try to build a team around him, but for some reason, the Edmonton Oilers just cannot get over the hump and get a Stanley Cup. So does that mean that their best player in Connor McDavid is going to win out? And is Connor McDavid a really good player? I mean, I get it. I know he's a good player, but I know hockey's a team sport. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Connor McDavid's a good player, or do you think a good player is a player that can win championships and get Stanley Cup wins? I mean, I know the Stanley Cup is one of the hardest trophies to get. But that's kind of sad, but he lost in the first round to the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks are in the playoffs for the first time in a few years because the Anaheim Ducks haven't been good, but they're good this year and they're looking really good. But I mean, we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Anaheim Ducks and their fans. I mean, at least they moved on. And they won a Game 6, but the Edmonton Oilers are out of the playoffs and they will not be getting another Stanley Cup. And that only leaves the Montreal Canadiens to maybe help a Canadian team win. When everybody says that hockey is a Canadian sport, Canadian teams have not won a Stanley Cup for quite a while now. And if the Tampa Bay Lightning come back tonight, which we'll get into later on in a couple minutes here in the video, they could be out too. Or we'll force Game 7, I think. But the Edmonton Oilers lost 3-2. They were down 3-1 in the first period, and then 4-1 in the second period. And they got one goal in the second period, be 4-2. They took the goaltender out, which gave a couple goals to the other team. But that's it. But the interesting part is everybody, and all these ESPN experts and all these people talk about how good Connor McDavid is. I mean, I think he's still a good player. I think hockey is a hard sport to win, to get the Stanley Cup. But it's just interesting that even the good players like him still don't have any rings. Will he get a ring before he retires? We'll find out. But he does not have a ring yet, and will not be getting a ring this year because he is going to Cancun right now. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Edmonton Oilers and their fans, since they keep trying to do all this stuff and build a team around them, and do all this stuff, and they even got rid of the goaltender, Stuart Skinner, who didn't think was doing good, and got Tristan Jarry. I mean, Tristan Jarry is not a good goaltender. Let's face it. He's always hit or miss. I mean, he only played one playoff game, and they switched back to him. I mean, even the Penguins offered Shelob, who played one game and did good. And he even won that game, or I guess he did lose that game in overtime, but still, they didn't go back to him. And sometimes in hockey, when you're down 4-1, they try to put it in the backup goaltender to try to put up a spark, and they didn't even put it in the backup goaltender in that game. But oh well. The Minnesota Wild beat the Dallas Stars. So I guess stars are bright, the moon is light, deep in the hole of Texas. But they will not be shining bright tonight or last night because the Dallas Stars are out of the playoffs. And the Minnesota Wild have moved on and won the first playoff series for the first time since 2015. Who would have thought that we would see the first playoff series win for the Minnesota Wild since 2015 before we get a new Grand Theft Auto game? Wake up, Rockstar! We need a new Grand Theft Auto game. If the Stachers are listening, let's start budging down the door of Rockstar Games to get a new Grand Theft Auto game. But the Minnesota Wild won 5-2 last night, moving on to the second round. It's the first time they move on to the second round since 2015. That's good for their fans and good for the Minnesota fans. And both Minnesota teams have moved on to the second round. So there'll be a lot of hockey and a lot of sports in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. But that's good for them. I mean, they have good players too. So now the Edmonton Oilers losing will both have a new Eastern Conference champion and Western Conference champion because the Florida Panthers did not have a good year and did not make the playoffs this year. So have a new champion and new runner-up this year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see who it is. It won't be the Penguins and it won't be the Edmonton Oilers and it won't be the Dallas Stars. The Boston Bruins play tonight at 7:30 in Boston against the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are looking to win the first playoff series since like 2011. That's been a long time ago. I mean, I know it's not been a real long time ago, and I know I might be sounding old, but that's been a while ago. And they might be able to win the first playoff series, and I think they win tonight. I think the Buffalo Sabres are one of the hot teams right now, and I think they beat the Boston Bruins. But I mean, hockey's interesting. You never know. That's why I always pick and never bet. Because I could probably lose a lot of money because I always pick wrong, according to my friend Robbie, the number one stasher. But that's why I always pick. But the Buffalo Sabres are looking to come back in. Tage Thompson is one of the young and upcoming stars in the NHL world and looking to show up and show out tonight for his Buffalo Sabres. My friend Brandon probably watching the Buffalo Sabres game because he's a big Buffalo Sabres fan on my ESPN account, but that's good. At least it's getting used. But anyway, the Buffalo Sabres are looking to beat the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins are looking to force a Game 7 tonight. Will the Boston Bruins win? It's going to be interesting. It's my barber Jake with Brand's friend is a Boston Bruins fan, so they're going to be against each other tonight. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Boston Bruins and the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are one of the surprise teams. The Buffalo Sabres were one of those teams at the beginning of the year that a lot of people thought would stink, and for some reason turned the season around. They fired their coach, who got Lindy Ruff, and Lindy Ruff in the second term, because he used to be at the Buffalo Sabres, in the second term, it's really turned that team around. I mean, in December time, near Christmas, a lot of people thought, okay, it's just going to be the same Buffalo Sabres finishing dead last in the division. But when they got Lindy Ruff, he turned that team around, and Lindy Ruff has really done good. Lindy Ruff or Dan Mute should be coach of the year. One of those two would be acceptable to be coach of the year. Not a Tampa Bay coach, because Tampa Bay always seems to be in it a lot, but one of those coaches should be good. Because he would have thought that he would have turned that team around and got him in the first playoff, got him locked in the first playoff series since 2011 season. I mean, that's been quite a while, but the Buffalo Sabres, that's like one of the longest droughts in NHL history, but now it's over with. And the Buffalo Sabres are in the playoffs, and they're one game away from going on to the next round to play somebody. It won't be the Carolina Hurricanes, because that's who the Philadelphia Flyers are playing. Oh, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Montreal Canadiens we'll get into later on. And they're in the game 6 right now. But who would have figured that the Buffalo Sabres would be this good in the playoffs? The Buffalo Sabres are looking really good. The Buffalo Sabres are 53, 23 and 9, 24, 13 and 4 away. Will they win? I mean, the last time the Buffalo Sabres played in Boston, I think they won pretty big. So will they do it again, or will Boston be able to force Game 7 on Sunday? It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the Boston Bruins and Buffalo Sabres game, but I think the Buffalo Sabres win, and I think they move on to the next round. You heard it here first on Stache, and yes, I know Stache is wrong sometimes, so don't come ask me if I'm wrong, but I think the Buffalo Sabres win. The Vegas Golden Knights against the Utah Mammoth. Vegas leads 6-3-2. The Utah Mammoth, or AKA the old Arizona Coyotes, are looking to force a Game 7 tonight. Will they be able to force Game 7? Maybe they will, or maybe Vegas will look good. Vegas has won the last couple games in overtime. Will this game go to overtime and continue the history of going to overtime? I don't know. I think the Utah Mammoth force a Game 7. You heard it here first. The Montreal Canadiens are playing the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning force Game 7. The Lightning are looking really good. The Lightning are 26 and 6 and 24, 12 and 5 away. The Montreal Canadiens are 48, 24 and 15 and 10, and 24, 15 2 at home. The Montreal Canadiens are looking to be the only Canadian team to advance into the next round of the playoffs. Would they be able to move on to the next round, or would the Canadiens lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight? I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win and force Game 7 at the Bell Center in Montreal. I don't know if the Canadiens can win, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. That's why hockey's a different sport, and you can never really guess on who's going to win, because it's not like wrestling where you can always get... Oh, man. How big that? It's not like hockey or wrestling where you can predict the winner. But I think the Lightning win. I think the Mammoth win. And I think the Sabres win tonight. So there'll be 2 Game 7s, and one will be going on, which will be the Buffalo Sabres to the next round. But we'll see what happens, and we'll recap that tomorrow. Shit. But we'll see. I think the Buffalo Sabres win, Mammoth, and Lightning. But we'll see. Happy May, everybody. Today's the first day of May. That's tomorrow. The Pittsburgh Pirates are looking to bounce back after a 4-game losing streak against the division rival St. Louis Cardinals. Hopefully they can do it tonight. The Pirates have Mitch Keller going on mound tonight, so hopefully they can beat the Reds. But the Reds are the number 1 team in the NL Central right now. I know the Pirates aren't doing good and near the bottom, but they're 16 and 16 in a much harder division right now. Who would have thought that the NL Central would be that good this year? The Cubs look like they're going to win against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're in the 4th inning and they're up 6-1. I think the Cubs pulled off. I think the Pirates win, and they're on Apple TV tonight. They're 16 and 16 and 8 and 9 at home. But I think the Pirates come back and win tonight against Cincinnati Reds. But they need to start winning something and get off this losing streak. I mean, I know it's only April and there's still plenty of baseball left, or May now, but it's only April. It just turned May, but it's still, I know it's only May, I guess now, but the Pittsburgh Pirates need to get off this losing streak before it's too late. And I think they did that tonight. I think Mitch Keller had a great night, great pitching night, and I think the hitting finally shows up. The hitting wasn't bad the last few nights. It's just the pitching was bad. Even though Paul Scanlon is a great pitcher, he did not look good yesterday. But let's hope he can bounce back in his next game. But I think they win. I think the New York Yankees beat the Baltimore Orioles tonight, but the Baltimore Orioles are looking really decent this year. They're 15-16 and 6-7. The Yankees are 20-11 and 8-5 at home, but I think the Yankees win. I think the Yankees just have more firepower right now. The Boston Red Sox are 12-19. I guess they won a couple games since they fired the manager and the whole coaching staff, and they're playing the 12-20 Astros. That's going to be an interesting match. They both have 12 wins. I think the Boston Red Sox get to 13 wins tonight. You're here on Stache Sports. But we'll see. You know what the hell is it? I think the Tampa Bay Rays at 18-12 and 8 at home beat the 13-18 and 6-9 away San Francisco Giants. I think the Minnesota Twins beat the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. I think the Dodgers beat the Cardinals. I think the Angels beat the Mets. The Mets are pretty bad this year. They only have 10 wins. And I know it's still early on in the season, but the Mets need to turn around. I think the Guardians or Indians beat the Athletics. I think the Tigers beat the Rangers. I think the Washington Nationals beat the Brewers. I think the Phillies beat the Marlins. I think the Braves beat the Rockies. I think the Padres beat the White Sox. And I think the Mariners beat the Kansas City Royals. But you heard it here first. But tonight's playoff games, again, if you didn't hear it the first time, I think the Orlando Magic win. I think the Detroit Pistons or Toronto Raptors win, and I think the Houston Rockets win. I think the Buffalo Sabres win. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win to force Game 7, and I think the Utah Mammoth win in Utah to force Game 7 back in Vegas. But here on Stache Sports. If any of you Stachers have any comments about what I can improve on or anything, and please leave them in the comments, even for hate comments by my number one fan, Baseball Kid. But please leave them in the comments. I try to reply back to them, but sometimes YouTube doesn't like me to reply back to them for some reason. But if you Stachers have a comment or any concerns, please leave them down below. And thank you for watching another episode of Stache Sports. Have a good week. Have a good day, the rest of Stachers. And tomorrow we'll have another episode of Stache Sports. But thank you for watching Stache Sports.